your response to that article about you and the Phoenix Project. I mean, there were several things that have been said in that article, allegations made, some things that have already been said as fact. So just your general overview. Firstly, how's that article left you feeling?
Well, a number of articles actually. It wasn't just one article.
Or based on this particular
Yes.
Yeah.
The media is hungry for stories of this type, and because of a previous incident, I can understand why the media would like to focus, but it's important for the media to get the right story and get the truth. And when they don't, then half-truths and whole falsehoods get spread. And this might be the reason why there is quite a bit of backlash against some of the articles. I haven't studied the article in depth. I did read through it. There is a lot of truth in there, but there are also some falsehoods contained in the article.
You spoke of a previous incident. Can you be more specific? Which one do you think has led to sort of preconceived ideas that might have influenced the
Well, I would be referring to the incident of the White River so-called military-style camp, which was uncovered, and the media has reported on that extensively. And once again, it's important for the police to do their work and uncover the truth there, and they should be left to do their work. But I think that led to a frenzy on the work that the police did at the Phoenix Project training camp.
Okay, let's focus on this one specifically then. Now, the journalists involved in this one, according to this article, say that you didn't respond or defend yourself. They had asked you for comment on it and they didn't get any response. I think it was the sister newspaper, The Report, that asked for a response. Do you acknowledge that you were asked for a response and that you didn't?
I received a message.
Yeah.
However, I was not in an area, I was still in the area which did not have enough cell phone coverage. I received the WhatsApp message, and I may have wanted to respond properly and duly, and that just went by. When we looked again, there was a report, there was a newspaper report in the report. So the important thing is, and that's one of the reasons why I've agreed to this interview, not that I am afraid of the media. I have nothing to be afraid of. I need to also place my version of the story, the truth, so that the public out there can balance the stories for themselves and find the truth within a lot of the media publication which has happened.
Which brings to mind the question then, Lourens, you were there at the time of the raid in Modimolle, were you not?
Absolutely.
So were you not asked for comment on the scene at the time?
No.
You received a WhatsApp. How long after the raid happened?
I think the WhatsApp, I speak under correction, but the WhatsApp, I got a massive amount of WhatsApp messages, and that was a while after the raid took place. Firstly, I think it was on Saturday afternoon only I received that particular WhatsApp. But the mass of WhatsApp messages which I received in support of the Phoenix Project was specifically because people know what we do,
Which I'm going to get to, because I want to know exactly what it is. I just want to clear the air in terms of you not being able to comment or being unable to comment. I just have to wonder why you didn't prioritize to comment,
Well, frankly, I would have wanted to, but there was not really time. I had to pack up, make sure everything is properly and duly congruent with the packing up of the camp, getting back, getting everyone safe, making sure that the transport of all the equipment, the firearms, etc., is done in a duly regulatory manner.
So I did contact the Hawks for comment, just so you know, and they have said to me that they're not commenting further because investigations are ongoing, and that is their choice. But the article, as we said, does contain several allegations, conclusions. So let's look at those. Let's break them down for you as well. You say you just skimmed over the article.
Yeah.
You're described as a right-wing activist. Is that how you identify yourself?
Well, I'd like to ask the question, what exactly is a right-wing activist by definition? If they mean a God-fearing South African patriot, country-loving, anti-crime citizen who wishes to see law and order and a proper governance, regulatory, statutory, etc., well, yes, then I'm probably one of those that they describe.
But how would you describe yourself?
I am a South African patriot.
You don't describe yourself as right-wing.
No. Right-wing,
Don't identify
by
as right-wing.
connotation, would mean something different and negative. I love this country.
Given the history of this country,
Correct.
it does, yeah.
Correct. And given the history of many other international countries. But I'm a God-fearing, patriotic South African, and I want nothing more than to see South Africa succeed as a country which works together and reduces crime, corruption, and we don't have to go into all of that.
For all its people, I would
Correct.
imagine. Everyone.
Correct.
So let's look at the other allegations here. The article states or alleges that there was no permit for the firearms seized during this raid at the Phoenix Project and that they were illegal.
That I would contest.
Okay,
I would
based
say that is a falsehood because whoever wrote the article was not there, and unless they can show proof of that, I will contest that. But the truth will come out.
And you're able to show proof, as in sort of necessary paperwork or permits that would be required?
That
You'd be able to provide that?
was provided to the members of the task force or the Hawks that were there, and the newspapers should get a hold of them and ask them for comment there.
Okay. It also states that this raid happened while training was going on at the Phoenix Project. Who were you training at the time that the raid happened? Were you training anybody at the time?
We were. I am engaged in training. I just would like to say that, I am an advanced firearms instructor, advanced level firearms instructor. All of the instructors that I used are registered, legitimate, advanced firearms training. Firearms training is not illegal. And this is a commercial activity for me. So there are many people who want to be proficient and be competent at using their firearms safely so that they are within the bounds of firearm use.
So who were you training at the time?
At that particular camp, there was a number of gentlemen who had asked if we could provide specific training, and I had put up the training together, and I had got a instructor in, a specific instructor to do the tactical portion of that and make sure that the training, which was designated as a survival type and firearms competency training camp, gets run in the best possible and most tutorial manner.
So these were civilians or people wanting
Correct.
to protect themselves, not in any way linked to any, for military use in any way or any conflict?
Nothing of the sort. There are many civilians who are at this stage looking for the best possible training to make sure that when they do get training, it's the best possible firearm training, survival training, bushcraft, fieldcraft, whatever it may be. And we can provide that.
What is your relationship or what is your association with the Phoenix Project?
The Phoenix Project is simply a project aimed at making sure that every and any civilian who wants to protect and defend themselves firstly, primarily, and also enjoy their rights as a sport shooter, a dedicated sport shooter, or a firearms sports activist, can receive the best possible training in handling their firearms properly, securely, safely, and learn certain tactical skills as well. We aim to provide that training for those people.
So have you ever offered military training?
Never.
In any form?
Never.
Or any way?
Never.
Never, ever, ever
Never.
in all of this time?
If I wanted to offer military training, I would make sure that we are registered to do that, licensed to do that, and we would advertise it as such.
So what exactly is your job, if I have to ask you that? Who exactly is Lourens Steytler? What do you actually do? And this is part of it.
Well, like I said, my credentials are commercial activities in firearms training, tactical training, survival, fieldcraft, bushcraft. And these all intermingle. And I think the confusion comes because I often use camouflage dress, which is a normal part of activity for people who are in tactical training environment or even hunting, and specifically survival. I mean, my company, Pathfinder Bushcraft and Survival, provides exactly that, bushcraft and survival training. And it's not illegal. But if we were to find out that we need to register or license a specific part of the training, we would duly do that and comply with all of the regulation.
Is the Phoenix Project your baby? Do you kind of own it?
That might be more difficult to answer. Yes, maybe. But remember, it's not a company.
Okay.
It's not a group.
It's an initiative.
It's an initiative.
So whose baby is it? Whose idea? Whose brainchild was it?
Well, let me put it this way. I came up with the idea, but it's a collaboration with many South African people who are at the top of their competency level, who understand that what needs to be done is a lawful and a legal training environment for people to get the level of training, tactical, survival, bushcraft, fieldcraft, firearms training at the best level possible. And we collaborate with various instructors and sometimes institutions who support us in that.
So seeing as it was your sort of brainchild, we've
Yes.
established that, are you absolutely sure that none of those people who form part of the project do offer military training,
Yes.
which thereby might actually lead to, you know, this sort of seeping into
Yes.
your reputation?
Yeah.
Are
I
you
can,
absolutely 100% sure?
yes. And should we find out that that is transgressed, we will take the necessary steps.
Okay. So you were also, you have been associated with Steytler, who you say there's a misconception about Colonel Wynand du Toit and his relationship or his involvement. Let's talk about that. What is your relationship? Do you have any affiliation to Steytler?
I have no affiliation to the Steytlanders whatsoever. I have looked at their, can we call it a mandate for their group, whatever, out of interest. I have spoken to many of the Steytlanders, but I'm not affiliated to them, and the Phoenix Project is not affiliated to them.
In any
and
way?
In any way, and neither them to us.
So you don't deal with each other, there's not even a friendship, there's not even something outside of, you don't associate with Colonel Wynand du Toit in any way? And
I do. He's a friend.
He's a friend,
He's
he's
a
just a
friend.
friend.
Sure.
But his association with Steytler, however,
I cannot speak to that.
misconceivable.
I cannot speak to that because he has his own initiatives, and Steytlanders have their own initiatives, and they need to talk to what their relationship is.
But by association, do you not feel that that has compromised you as well, given what's being said about you?
Yeah, why would it be a compromise? As far as I know, Steytlanders is not doing anything illegal, and neither is Colonel Wynand du Toit. And as far as I can see, all of these initiatives are about safety, security, and doing it on a legal manner. You know, I'd like to state on the record, the Phoenix Project, myself and every person that's involved with the Phoenix Project understands full well that as citizens of this country, we have the right to protect and defend ourselves. Not only that, every citizen of this country has the right and the responsibility to protect this Constitution, the country, against any form of crime or terrorist activity, etc. So I'm just saying, when it comes to safety and security, it merges into all kinds of so-called training, etc. And we have a right to that, and nobody has the right to take that right away from us.
And I know, Lourens, people who do what you do, they sort of train people, firearms, protecting yourself. For them, using a gun is the last resort. It's the last thing that you do to protect yourself. Is that what you advocate as well? Gun is not the first thing you pull out.
No.
If you have to protect yourself against somebody breaking into your house,
Exactly.
your family.
Exactly. And this is where the falsehoods get spread. Simply because I train people to use their firearms competently, safely, and at the right time, people merely make their own assumptions. But I'd like to ask the question, farm attacks are a real threat in South Africa. CIT, cash in transit heists, are a very real threat. We have one of the most highest murder rates in South Africa. And a lot of those crimes do not happen simply with a stick and a stone. Those crimes are perpetrated by the criminals with heavy caliber firearms. And you cannot, if you are ever, God forbid, in a situation where you have to protect or defend yourself, you cannot go against that with a stick and a stone.
No, I do, and I understand the violent nature of farm attacks as well. It's been widely publicized, and like you say, for clarity's sake, is that a gun is the last resort when it comes to, it should be the absolute only last thing you have to protect yourself and your family. So let's just finish up the conversation about Steytler. You say you're a friend of Colonel Wayne du Toit. He's been associated with Steytler, but you've read their mandate.
I haven't read their mandate.
Or you're aware of it?
Yeah, I'm aware that they have a mandate, and I know what the overview is.
Yeah, from what I see, that it is, they believe that a race war is imminent, and that if that happens, then it's time to sort of move those who are in danger or those under threat, to get them moving. I would like your take on that, because we're a country that is trying to heal a lot from our past. And when we tend to separate certain people who might be under threat, all races are under threat in one way or another.
Absolutely.
in our country. So for me, when I read something like that, of many South Africans, they might have some sort of racial undertones to that, let's just call a spade, right? We're all grown ups here, is to say, are we looking at maybe white Afrikaners who need to be particularly protected? That's what it comes across as to me. Should we not be protecting all those who are vulnerable? And when you look at what Steytler actually stands for, does it not cause a bit of dis-ease for you?
Well, I'm not going to speak to their mandate or what they believe, etc. All I can tell you is that the Phoenix Project is not involved in that. We do not advocate that. We are about training people to the best competency and training them to a point where they can produce the necessary protection for themselves, their family, their area, their town, etc. And that is why, one of the reasons why, we tell people, do not get involved in politically driven narratives. And that's one of the things I teach when there are people who talk to me about what needs to be done for safety and security. I say, number one thing you need to do is focus on the safety and security, protection, self-defense area. Forget about and step away from politically driven narratives. Politically driven narratives, by the way, are mostly fired up and fired on by some of the radical political leaders in South Africa. And that may cause some of the people to say, look, we are very uncomfortable. But that doesn't happen within the training camps that we do, or any training that we do.
So if Steytler had to call on you to, if say this race war that they say might happen is going to happen and certain people need to be protected, and they said to you, Lourens, will you help us sort of be able to protect ourselves? Will you come to the party?
I will say to them, right, here's what we do. I can provide training with regards to firearms, self-defense. I'm also a self-defense instructor, registered. I can do self-defense, firearm training, fieldcraft, bushcraft, and survival training for you. That's what we do. We do not engage in political narratives. I do not get on the stage and sing about attacking or killing other people in South Africa.